everyone. So in previous lectures we started with video compression, and there are various standards for video coding or video compression, but the major video coding standards are based on same generic design of video codec that incorporates motion estimation and compensation in the first stage, then a DCT based transform stage, and then an entropy encoder. So this model is often described as a hybrid codec in which we exploit both temporal and spatial redundancy in frames. So when we talk about motion estimation and prediction, we take into account the temporal redundancy, and when we talk about DCT based transformation and entropy encoders like Hoffman coding or arithmetic coding, we try to exploit spatial redundancy. So since we are exploiting both temporal and spatial redundancy in frames, these coding standards are also called as hybrid codec. So these codecs have to implement a similar set of basic coding and decoding functions, although there are many differences of details between the standards and between implementations which we will be discussing in coming lectures. Generally, in encoder, video frame is processed to produce a compressed bit stream. Now before display, decoder decompress this bit stream to form a reconstructed video frame. Now the basic pipeline of most of the video coding standards, they contain encoder and they contain a decoder. So let's first discuss about the basic pipeline of encoding. So if you can see, there are two main data flow paths in the encoder: left to right, this one encoding, and then right to left, this is reconstruction. And this is encoding. Now let's first discuss about the encoding flow, then we will talk about what is the significance of this reconstruction in the encoder. So input frame, let's say N, which is also the current frame, is used for encoding, and first it is divided into macro blocks of size 16 cross 16 pixels. Because in previous lectures also we have discussed that instead of pixel wise motion estimation and prediction, we go for block wise. Now the motion estimation function finds this motion estimation function finds a 16 cross 16 region in the previous encoded frame. Previous encoded frame, which is also called as a reference frame. So we match the 16 cross 16 region in the previous encoded frame that matches the current macro block in the Fn. The offset between the current macro block position and the chosen reference region is called as motion vector. Now, based on the chosen motion vector, a motion compensated prediction P is generated, which is a 16 cross 16 region selected by the motion estimator. Now, P is subtracted from the current frame to give a residual block or residual image, which is called as D, here. So this D is the residual or difference image or macro block. Now this residual macro block is transformed using the DCT, and typically this D, suppose this is the macro block which is 16 cross 16, this D is typically split into 8 cross 8 sub blocks, and each block is transformed separately as we have seen in JPEG. Now this each sub block is quantized. The DCT coefficient of each sub block are recorded and are reordered and run level coded, means entropy encoded. We can use Huffman or any other entropy based encoder, and we get so once we get these coefficients, the motion vector, this motion vector and other header information for each macro block are entropy encoded to produce the compressed bit stream. So we will reorder it, we will add vectors and headers, motion vectors, and then these information are entropy encoded to produce the compressed bit stream. Now this is the flow for the general pipeline or general flow of encoding. As you can see here, this quantized macro block here is rescaled and inverse transformed to produce a decoded residual macro block. This is dn prime and this was dn, which says that they both are not identical and some distortion has been introduced. Now this motion compensation, motion compensated prediction, this P is added to this residual D prime to produce a reconstructed macro block. Now this reconstructed macro blocks are combined to produce reconstructed frame Fn prime. After encoding a complete frame, the reconstructed frame Fn may be used as a reference frame for the next encoded frame Fn plus 1. So earlier we have used Fn minus 1, which was also the reconstructed frame, as a reference. For Fn plus 1 as the current frame, we can use this reconstructed frame as the reference to do all the encoding. So this is kind of a feedback as well, that we will see the significance, like why we are using this reconstructed why we have reconstructed frame here in the encoder as well. But this kind of act as a feedback whether encoding and decoding process are completely synchronized, and same reference frame has been used for encoder and decoder both. So this was the pipeline for encoding. Now let's discuss the decoding process. So in decoding process, we start with the coded bit stream. So the compressed bit stream is entropy decoded to extract coefficients and motion vectors and header for each macro block. Now run level coding and reordering are reversed. Here we have reordered it. So this is reversed to produce a quantized transform macro block X. This X is rescaled and inverse transformed to produce a decoded residual macro block Dn prime. Now the decoded motion vector is used to locate a 16x16 region in the decoder's copy of the previous reference frame. This region becomes the motion compensated prediction. Now P is added to this residual to produce a reconstructed macro block, and the reconstructed macro blocks, all reconstructed macro blocks give rise to a reconstructed frame. Now after a complete frame is decoded, this Fn frame is ready to be displayed, and this may also be stored as a reference frame for the next decoded frame. So next time, instead of Fn minus 1, we will use Fn as a reference for another decoded frame. Now if you will notice, the same thing was there in the encoder as well. We had this motion vectors here, we have rescaled it, reverse transformed it, and computed the residual macro block. Here also we have done the same thing by adding the motion compensated based prediction to this residual block. So what is the significance of this? So this step makes sure that the encoder and decoder use the same identical frame, which here is Fn minus 1 prime for motion compensated prediction. It also acts as a feedback and error checking mechanism. Now most of the video coding so we can generalize that most of the video coding standards exploit the temporal redundancies by using motion estimation and compensation based prediction. Then this residual frame is encoded by transform domain techniques like DCT. So spatial, and then it is quantized and given to entropy encoder. So most of the video coding standards exploit both temporal redundancies and spatial redundancies, and which is also called as hybrid codecs. So a video compression system consists of an encoder, a decoder, and a compressed bit stream. But the encoder part and decoder part, they both are proprietary information, and the only available information is about the syntax and semantics of bitstream and its decoding process. This is the only thing where changes could be made. The information about the encoder and decoder is not revealed. These are the proprietary information. Information about encoder means we don't have any information like how which motion estimation approach is used, or what are the search algorithms for motion vectors which have been used. So these things are fixed. The only information available to design the compatible decoders or encoders is this bit stream and the decoding process also. So since this rest of the information about the decoder is not available, there may be it may be a case that the quality is not very acceptable, but it also provides the flexibility to design the compression algorithms which provides edge to a particular company or a particular product over other competing products and algorithms. So that's why most of the algorithms are written, and much research is going on that how this bit stream in a particular syntax can be created, and what are the algorithms which can be used to compress video frame into as much as less information as possible. So that's why lot of researches are going on to design high rate of compressed videos, but at the same time making sure of the quality as well. So we will be discussing different encoding coding and compression algorithms, compression standards, but our main focus will be here only. So major coding standards are ITU, that is ITU Video Coding Experts Group, which have standards like H.261, 263 and so on, and other major video coding standards are from Moving Pictures Expert Group like MPEG 1 and MPEG 2. Now in our course our major focus will be on MPEG standards because these are the most popularly used. And MPEG 1 we start with the MPEG 1 standard, which supports only non-interlaced video. And since our video images are in RGB color space, which if we convert into YCRCB color space, then we can also achieve some amount of compression because it provides us the flexibility of separating illuminance and chrominance components. So MPEG 1 use 4:2:0 chroma subsampling. Now the basic hierarchy of the structure of MPEG 1 bit stream can be given as, like, the basic unit for DCT operation is called as block. This is the basic unit for DCT. In JPEG also we have discussed that the image is divided into sub images of size 8x8 pixels. Similarly here also this 8x8 pixel size is for block. Now this group of block will give us the macro block, and generally we take size of macro block as 16x16 pixels, and it says that it consists of 4 luma component and one chroma components. So it is nothing but 4:2:0 chroma subsampling. Now the group of macro block or a string of macro block is called as slice, and this group of subslice give us a single frame or image. In MPEG 1 we have 3 type of frames: I frame, B frame and pre-frame. We will discuss about these type of frames in detail in coming slides. Now group of frames is give us a group of pictures, GOP. It's a collection of pictures, generally 10 or 15, and these sequence of GOPs give us a sequence which is nothing but our video sequence. So this is the major structure, this is sequence, this is nothing but our complete video sequence, and this video sequence is grouped into GOPs, and this single picture or frame, generally we call frame as picture in MPEG 1 standard. This frame consists of many slices or group of macro blocks, and these macro blocks are again subdivided into 8x8 blocks for DCT. So this is the basic data structure or the structure of the bit stream for MPEG 1 video. Now most of the things we know, like we know what is the macro block, we know what is the block, because we have already discussed JPEG compression. So the new thing here is this picture frames I, B and P. So I frame is intra-coded frame. Intra-coded frame means that generally this is when we take a video sequence, generally the first image is called as I frame. Since we don't have any reference frame for this image, we can exploit only spatial redundancy. So we can exploit the redundancy within the frame. The second type of frame or picture is P frame, which is predictive coded frame which is coded based on the previous frame. So this is the previous frame, and with the help of previous frame we will code this frame. So this frame is called as P frame. And if we use both previous and the future frame to code the current frame, to predict the current frame, it is called as bidirectionally predicted frame or P frame. So this is intra-coded frame, I frame. This is coded without reference to other frames. So since it is coded independently, we don't have any temporal redundancy to account for, and we only exploit the spatial redundancy or within frame redundancy. Generally, the first frame of every video sequence is the intra-coded frame, and also these intra-coded frames are added at the beginning of group of pictures. This video sequence is collection of GOPs. So the first frame of GOP is also I frame, and it is added periodically between the video to prevent the accumulation of prediction error, because since we are predicting the current frame on the basis of previous frame, so if there are errors, it will keep on accumulating in the subsequent frames. So if we add an I frame in between certain number of frames, it will avoid the accumulation of prediction error. Since we are only exploiting spatial redundancy, so the compression is very poor in intra-coded frames or I frames. Then we have P frames. They are coded with reference to the nearest coded I frame or P frame using motion compensation, estimation and prediction. They have better compression than the I frame, because we are taking into account of the temporal redundancy and spatial redundancy as well. Then in bidirectional frame, each macro block of B frame will specify up to 2 motion vectors, one from forward and one from backward prediction. Forward prediction means when we are taking previous frame as reference frame. So that forward prediction is backward estimation, and backward prediction means when we are taking next frame as the reference frame for estimating the motion vectors. Now from both the frames, previous and forward or next frame, we have computed 2 motion vectors. So to compensate for motion, we will take the average of both these motion vectors, and it has the best compression. But what is the need for bidirectional search? We have already discussed it earlier. If we consider this as the current frame, and this is the macro block which contains a part of ball. If we only consider previous frame, we don't have a good match for this particular region, but in the next frame we have a good match here. So we will get better prediction and since we have better prediction error will be less and compression will be more. So this is all about this, that we are taking we are estimating motion vector from future reference frame and the previous reference frame. We will take mode of it and we will predict a frame, we will predict the motion, then this predicted frame will be subtracted from this target frame and we will get the residual image or residual block, macro block. Now this residual macro block, we apply YCRCB chroma subsampling, and here we apply 4:2:0 chroma subsampling, and then we divide it into 8x8 blocks, apply DCT, and then further entropy based coding, and this is our compressed bit stream. So suppose this is one GOP of MPEG-1. Since the first frame is always a I frame, and this is the display order, like images are displayed in this order. From I frame we can get the P frame, because this pre frame is obtained from the previous reference frame, past reference frame. So this I frame can be used to obtain this P frame. Now these are bidirectional frames, they can be obtained one from I frame and one from P frame, or they can obtain from this also from I frame and P frame. Again this P frame can be predicted from previous P frame, and once we have this P frame we can predict these B frames. So for display it is fine, but as you can see that in order to obtain B frame, this is the display order, but this display order is after we have decoded the bit stream properly. And for obtaining or for reconstructing the various frames, suppose for reconstructing the P frame, we need at least one I frame or P frame. So at the receiver's end, after I obtain I frame, I need P frame, so that using this P frame I can obtain this B1 and B2. Then once we have these frames, again before predicting these frames I need to have this P6. So for transformation I need to first send the I frame, which can then code for this P frame, and using these both the frames I can get B1 and B2. Now for predicting B4 and B6 I must have P6. So I will transmit this frame first. Once I have transmitted this frame, I can either get B4 or B6, B5. Again, since B7 and B8 I need 2 frames, one from previous and one from future reference. So after P6 I need to transmit I9, and using I9 and B5 I can obtain B7 and B8. So the transmission order of frames, different picture elements of MPEG is different as compared to display order. So this is all about MPEG 1 standard. In the next class we will talk about MPEG 2 video coding standard.